Welcome back, everybody. We do want to get back to that breaking news. A federal appeals court in the nation's capital ruling that Donald Trump does not have presidential immunity from prosecution in the election interference case being brought by Special Prosecutor Jack Smith.
Scripps News political correspondent Stephanie Liebergen joins us with more on this significant ruling here. Stephanie, good morning.
Hey guys, good morning. So this nearly 60-page ruling coming down from the U.S. Appeals Court. Now this is affirming what was decided by the district court judge, as Tanya Chutkan in that case rejected the former president's claims of presidential immunity to avoid prosecution for any connection to the January 6th insurrection. Now in this ruling today, the appeals court says that the former president is a private citizen and should be treated as such. He has all of the options to defend himself just the same way any other private citizen would, but he does not have presidential immunity from any actions related to the January 6th insurrection. The court also notes that they considered his contention that is categorical immunity from all criminal liability for anything that he did as president. This appeals court ruling notes that that contention that he is just immune from any sort of criminal prosecution, they say, is unsupported by precedent, history, or the text and structure of the Constitution. So that's what we've heard from some analysts, saying the former president saying he is fully immune from prosecution doesn't coincide with what the framers and what the Constitution was written for and by. They didn't want one person to be deemed king, to be deemed unfallible. This appeals court ruling notes a few pieces of background: the false claims of a stolen election, the fake slate of electors that was prepared in some states. And it also notes the House impeachment articles against former President Trump, all among the pieces of background that the court considered in their argument and coming to this decision. But really a big decision, a big blow for former President Trump and his defense in not only this January 6th case, but in other potential cases that he may be facing. Now, this is the appeals court. There is yet another court above them, the U.S. Supreme Court. I would not at all be surprised if the former president's legal team does appeal this decision to the Supreme Court to ultimately have the U.S. Supreme Court justices be the one to make the final and ultimate decision on presidential immunity. But this ruling today from the appeals court affirming the lower court ruling, certainly a big blow to former President Trump and his defense team today.
And as you said, obviously, the Trump team will certainly appeal this to the Supreme Court. What they do and when they do it is still a mystery. But again, it underscores two huge things: that the Supreme Court of our country will have two major issues in its hands when it comes to Trump as he kind of cruises toward the nomination. This immunity issue as a broad legal theory, but then two, the ballot issue, when you're seeing states like Colorado and Maine and possibly others take his name off that issue to get to the Supremes as well. They will very much help define the contours of this election. We'll see.
And we haven't heard from Trump this morning just yet after this ruling, but late last night on his social media site, Truth Social, he said, if immunity is not granted to a president, every president that leaves office will be immediately indicted by the opposing party. Without complete immunity, a president of the United States would not be able to properly function, which is something that we have heard him say, whether it's after a court hearing or just while he's been campaigning, that this is not an uncommon thing and an unfamiliar thing for him to say.
Yeah. And Stephanie, that statement assumes that a president is going that
has immense legal troubles,
right?
Yeah.
And which not every president does,
right.
And certainly no other president's had this level ever or been indicted ever. So this is a particular situation. Just from your gut instincts as a reporter, how do you think this plays on Capitol Hill today? I would assume if you were a Trump loyalist when you woke up this morning, you will still be one after this ruling circulates today.
I certainly don't think this appeals court ruling is going to change any minds here on Capitol Hill. And, as to former President Trump's argument, and that post is, you noted, Alex, that he has said before, we haven't had this problem before. We haven't had this other presidents leave office and, then be hit with a bunch of indictments for criminal wrongdoing for things they did while they were in office. This is a problem that, former President Trump is the first one to really face this issue. And that's why we're going through all of these court cases and the appeals court's decision. But no, I don't think this appeals court decision is going to change anyone's mind. I think Trump supporters here on Capitol Hill, Trump, folks that are supporting him in his 2024 re-election effort are going to continue to stand behind him. They're probably going to hear a lot of the same arguments we've heard before, saying that these are partisan judges who are just, trying to do election interference, trying to interfere in the 2024 election, prevent him from being reelected to the White House. I would imagine we'll hear a lot of that rhetoric again throughout today, but again, I think ultimately it's going to be the Supreme Court that has to weigh in on kind of a lot of these issues related to former President Trump and his, multiple criminal court cases that he and his defense teams are having to face.
And as a reminder about how kind of interesting this theory became, there was that moment widely covered in the news media when one of Trump's lawyers kind of was asked the question,
Right.
well, what if the president ordered the murder of one of his political rivals? Are you saying that he would be immune from that because he was serving as president? And the lawyer pretty much said, yeah, unless he's impeached and convicted by Congress.
Right.
And that made a huge headline. People were like, so now we're saying the president can literally hire someone to murder someone and still be okay because he's in the Oval Office. So it's a very slippery legal theory. And this appeals court has now rejected it. We'll see what comes from the Supreme Court in the coming maybe weeks, maybe months. All of this also begging the question, what gets done before November? We'll be back.